Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Embodying the Logos. Today, my partner is Diego, who was so nice to drive me all the way to Germany and back after letting me sleep at his house for a night. So, yeah, like we have history,
Yeah, that was
and
one hell of a drive. Yeah.
and we're gonna make history. Like I didn't tell you guys, but like. Yeah, he had a hurt foot, and it didn't get better after driving. Let's just say it that way. But today, appropriately, we are talking about pride, which was definitely happening with him driving with that foot. So, yeah, Diego, like, tell us about pride. Like, what is pride?
Yeah, great question. It's coming up with definitions is always difficult, but yeah, I would think maybe pride with has to do with intellect and has to do with conviction, right? This has to do with the conviction of setting up, putting forth a proposition, and kind of assuming it's complete. And I think that pride is when trying to put something forth as truthful gets corrupted and slips from what is really true true virtues and beautiful. I forget the three good things, but yeah. So I think it's a corruption of something that is trying to say be something good, but then it just slips and then it becomes this demented thing. Um, so I like to think. I think that the easiest way for me to think of pride is when I think of a totalitarian regime. It's like, I know all the answers. I have a perfect box. These are the things that need to happen. I'm going to plan the economy, for example. All the things. This is the price of everything. This is how the dynamic complex system needs to work. I know all the answers, and then it's hell. So there's something about that. So I think that the main thing would be the putting forth of the proposition and assuming it's going to be correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I like this degenerates into hell, which I think we want to bring in for Fakey's reciprocal narrowing in
Yeah.
here, right? It's like there's this idea, and then you get stuck in it, and it reinforces itself, right? Like it feeds
Yeah.
on itself, which means that it's self-referential. Like I think that's a
Yeah.
term
Yeah.
that we've been thinking about in our group, and the self-referential nature, right? Whether that's just you referencing yourself as an authority, or you have a system that references itself as an authority,
Yeah.
it has to corrupt because like it's not everything. And so there's
Yeah.
always
Indeed.
the outside that's going
Yeah.
to impose upon it, and entropy will ensue. um so uh the problem with all of these definitions is that the I think pride is deviating from the good in
Right.
some sense by, and then this is where you come in, right? By thinking that you know better, right? Because that's the
Yeah.
only reason. But it's all in relationship to the good, right? And then what is the act of pride? Well, basically, it's seeing the lesser good as the total good. And I think that's where we can start off. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So indeed, there is something like because it is indeed there are goods, right? And you are aiming towards them and you are enunciating them, and also you get the problem of the positive feedback from the crowds, for example. And this happens a lot. Like you do things that are you enunciate your proposition, you say this, and you show excellence in something, and people are like, ooh, nice. And then that's also intoxicating in its own little demonic way. And then but indeed there is an act of placement of hey, this is the top thing, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
it's not. And therefore there's the error in definition there. And I must say that also, just like the ego problem slips right in. I think that for me it's been it's a constant struggle when something well done is done in a way. But yeah, we are so quick to. Well, it comes from such a good part in ourselves. We favor things that are good, and we favor people that are doing things that are good. But in that, we can also foster things that are not. It takes a lot of self-control to kind of digest that in a healthy way, and not let that get to your head.
So let me rephrase it, because you're saying it's coming from a good part of yourself, and I would say it's coming from an excellent part of yourself, not from a good. Because the X to excel means to be to perfect something, right?
Yep.
And good implies that there's a moral quality to that, but like there's plenty of things I can perfect that aren't good, right? Like so and we would still feel good about those, like that, because in some sense, right, like we're basing ourselves on the feedback, right? So like we're using a way of judgment, and then well, you just go with the biological system, right? We get a reinforcement through endorphins or what's the other one? Anyway, we get these reinforcing structures, right? That give us this idea that we're good at something, and like we are good at something, right? But we're not accounting for where what we're doing is aiming at, right? So like the thing in and of itself is not good.
Right. Yeah, but things become again engaging and noteworthy, and they do that in the proportion in which they echo something good. Mm-hmm. So that's it's the it's the echo of what is good that makes them pop, and the virtuosity, for example, you say there's like virtuosity and there's excellence in something, and that echoes something, beautiful or true, or like the skill is true, but maybe the direction is not correct, but there are components of it that are, beautiful in their own way. And I can think of more than one example of very, very morbid and very well executed tyranny, that I've experienced. It's like, wow, like you need to be an expert to get this good at a very terrible thing, like it takes a genius to do this. But indeed, but but yeah, where does it come from? I think. I think you hit the nail on the head on the placing, and that better what to place first. And I think that's the thing where it starts. It's like this thing becomes the first thing, and to make it a little bit less. Yeah, go ahead.
I like the direction that you're taking with where does it come from, right? But I think you're coming from the wrong side. It's like no, like it's the default state. It doesn't come from anywhere, right? Like we have to pick something and pursue it, right? Like we're bound to that. Like there's no other option. So it doesn't come from anything. It's like, where does the grace come from that relieves us of that? That's the question. not where the ego is coming from, like, because the ego is
default state.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how to act in relation to that, right? And that's always tough. So, I just find it so bewildering when I hear or read about people that are able to do that, and casting aside that glory, actually. So again, because pride and glory, I think are for me are at least correlated in some way. It's like the wanting to accumulate glory for yourself, and it's so hard to do that continuously. Like I just find it's such a trap. All right, so where do you want to take this? Where shall we go?
Well, I think it's interesting that you bring in glory, right? So, because what is glory? Well, glory is like an immaterial success, all right?
Mhm.
It's the recognition of something well done or something, right? And there's an
Yeah,
implicit not so much status but validation, right? Like or
yeah, indeed.
justification in there. Um, like I think glory also means heavy. I think we talked about that actually, right? Didn't we? But I think in Hebrew it means heavy or weighty, and 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 so it brings weight, right? Like it assigns weight. So if we're looking at reasoning or whatever, right? No, not reasoning, rationality, right? Like we're rationing things, right? And so if
Yeah,
something is weighted, it counts different in the way that we ration.
yeah.
um,
It tilts the scale. Yeah.
right. Um, and then I think um, so we're talking in the context of pride and like I think we kind of pointed out how it's this trap, right? Like this
Mhm.
entropy of the soul or something, right? Like
Yep.
that
Yep.
we have to counteract actively. Um, and you were proposing this idea of, well, like I want to pursue something in the world.
Yep.
Um, and how do I know that it's not going to be in vain, right? Like in
Right.
like seeking for vain glory, like
Exactly. Yeah.
and and yeah, like that's a real trap, right? You can see that with well, a lot of people who get famous, right?
Mm.
Uh, they get stuck. And I actually went to Bible study, and we were talking about Jesus getting to 30 before he started doing his stuff, right? And it's like, well, what's that about? Well,
Yeah.
he became an adult, right? Like he finished his development, and then
Yep.
he got tested, right? Like it's not only that he matured, like he got
Yeah.
tested. So when we're talking about people who get trapped, we can look at soccer players, artists that
Yep.
generally getting young, or you you put things in people like a dictator or a spiritual leader, right? Who connect their identity close to the truth, right? So if you're like, okay, I'm bringing in the kingdom of God effectively with like I'm the prophet of goodness, right? And all of these people see the goodness in me, then that's easy. That easily allows you to justify your actions, right? Because there's this idea of the group validating
Right.
your perspective. Um,
Yep.
so I think that's two angles that you can get stuck. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. So the person. So the stealing your own personality and that recognition of like, hey, you're not supposed to take on this. Don't do this at home. Side of things like, hey, you need to really be careful, and you're dealing with powerful substances, so you need to um, steel yourself before you go out there to the world preaching, right? And before you go and preach to the world as well, what
Clean
what
up your
what
room.
yeah, what's how's your house look like? Is your room clean? So that's a tough one. That's a really tough one, and but it is also relieving. It's like, okay, no, I have things actually immediately next to me that I can do it. That's really like, well, how you say, it reduces chaos. So that really helps.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the assuming a personality and getting the recognition is and validation from people is really a tough problem, because you want to be doing things that echo good and resonate in people, and we get, again, our so much of our sanity is echoing with between people and seeing, hey, are we doing good, Are we being rejected? Are we being accepted? Are we being invited? We're so social that and these are the tools that we use to kind of see whether we're erring or we're doing well. And if you get so how to rescue the good within a misplaced how to properly rescue the lesser good and put it in its proper place, and enact that. The enacting part.
You were touching on something I've been talking about a couple of years back, and there's 3 frames, right? So there's you and yourself, and that's basically narcissism or like egocentrism, right? So the way that I judge things is by how I do them. And then you kind of level up, right? Like this is where you give validity to the outside world, right? Where you use the social feedback to instruct you in what's right and wrong. And well, some people never take that step, right? Or some people get stuck on that step, but eventually you need to end up with the transcendent, right? Like you need to be validated by the truth, right? And that step I don't think many people can make, because like that's ineffable, literally, right? Like how do you connect to the truth? Well, that requires you to do all sorts of crazy things that aren't really natural, right? Like they don't really flow from your social interactions unless you're in an environment, a social environment where that activity is actively stimulated.
Yeah. Well, I think we can count those spaces. I think probably in the world about.
Yeah, there's not many of those.
Yeah, indeed. So that's very difficult. And yeah, I think I remember talking to a friend. I was trying to explain to him the idea about thinking about yourself as a community, and that was really helpful to him. And you think of yourself as a community, and you can think of yourself with like the past you, and maybe the traumatized kid you, and the you now, and the you in 2 weeks, and the you in 5 years, and that you are also a community, and that really can be very helpful to help also navigate some difficult moral situations. But yeah, the relation to the transcendent is just so it's so paradoxical sometimes when I read part of the Gospels. Like again, so much of the actions of Jesus are so unexplainable. They're so paradoxical. They're so surprising, and they go against the grain in so many ways. It's like, okay, how to know that you're carrying out a just inquisition versus you're just making a fool of yourself and actually making things way worse. And again, there is an adventure element anyway. If you're gonna say what you think without filters, then you're gonna get into some trouble, and that's gonna be fun. But yeah, how to calibrate that, and how do you know how to keep that relationship alive?
Well, yeah, there's more going on, but there's definitely this idea where I actually defined religion really early in my thinking as that which transcends paradoxes, or allows you to transcend it, right? Because like I'm with Mark on this one. We've been talking about this a lot lately, and I don't think paradoxes are real.
Okay.
I think they're just a recognition of a wrong perspective. Like when you run into a paradox, that means that you're thinking about the world wrong. Like that's just. And so if you read Jesus and you're in a paradox, that means that you're not relating to the text properly. Like that's just. And I think that's why the text exists, right? To let you interface with these situations, so that you don't have to go through them in real life, right? that you can make that transcendence without having to do the suffering, because Jesus did it for you, right? That's effectively.
Yeah.
Um, and then, right, like if you take this idea seriously, right, and Peterson has been talking about this, is that means that everything can eventually unite in one, right? Like there's no contradictions, right? And if you don't have contradictions, you can live your life authentically, right, and truthfully, without an issue, right? And you're not in pride. But if we look at this framing, right, as these parts of you, right, and these paradoxes, right, like, because that means that there's two parts that are in conflict, and this is where you get the opponent processing, blah blah blah, that stuff, right? It's like that's people who are looking up at the paradox instead of down onto it, because if you transcend it, it's resolved. Like these pieces can be in harmony, but if you're below it, they're like fighting, right? Like there's war. And then there's a war in you.
Yeah.
And then if you choose a side, you're prideful.
No. Yeah, it's you make me think of the maybe this is the it sounds like faith 2 inches deep, but like the people that say I am a child of God, and then that's so. When are you a child of God? So to what extent are you a child of God? And you should treat yourself with some, I wouldn't say respect, but like, it's more like with
reverence.
With reverence, exactly. Yeah. So what degree of reverence do you do you deserve? And to the other side, when I read anything about the Bible, it's like it just makes me so self-conscious about my own iniquity. It's constant. It's just like it's after. It's just so it just makes you go down to the basement and beyond, and you can and even in the writing, I've been reading Augustine, and this guy was still super aware of after years of living in like a like a monk that relinquished everything, which is what he was. He's still like, I still have this thought and I know that this thought is sinful, and it's like, and he's still lashing at himself and going and being such a extreme judge to every little part within him that is still not aligned. And it's like, how do you get there? That's insane. It's like, and because if I think about it again superficially, and probably because I'm doing it wrong, it's like, okay, no, I think I'm doing certain things. I think I'm doing all right. I have an idea about them, but then probably that's the that's where everything already went bad. That it already took a wrong turn. Having some of the respite that, okay, some things seem to be socially validated or something like that, or they seem to be going okay. I don't want to be in a place that I think I know or better, or that I could be some sort of a role model. I just that fills me with anxiety, because it feels because because in the one hand it feels natural, and that's scary, and I don't think that should be and it's John Reiki over and over, like the one who says they're wise, they're not, that's just not, that's not how that works. So yeah, I wonder how to be aware of your shortcomings while still edifying that which is edifying. So continue to foster the things that are just echoing things that are positive. So the things that are part of the good, how to continue feeding them, nurturing them, nourishing them, while staying conscious, right?
Why it isn't in contradiction? Are we back into a paradox, Diego?
Yeah.
Oops.
It's not a paradox. I mean, and the answer to my question, I think, is something like prayer. It's like, well, you ponder it, and
Mhm.
you think about it daily, right? And you try to measure things. You put ratio relation, or you put things in their place in relation, in context, and you measure them, and you try to cast away the things that are not worthy continuously. But yeah, it doesn't make it any less hard. It doesn't make it any less hard.
Okay. So there's a bunch of things going on here, and
Yep,
like I don't know if I want to go into what you were just saying because I think
that's okay.
we started off, and I hope I'm not like shitting all over Augustine at this point, but when you're like, ooh, this is sinful, right? Like especially if you want to stamp it out like the way that you described it, right? That is prideful.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like you're gonna find your own sins. Like what the fuck?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree, but
No, but
yeah,
you see the problem, right? Like it's
yeah,
like why do you do these things? Because you attend to them, right? Like why do you attend to them? Because you like faith. Like that's it. Like I don't think it's more difficult than that.
yeah. Well, the glory part is a version of it. Yeah, it's. But I do think that we are able to at least identify the things that are part of the things that are wrong with us. Of course, we're not a perfect judge, and we can fall into the self.
No,
Um,
I'm not saying that you can't do it.
hmm,
Like you can see things that are wrong with you. Although, like I'm gonna quote Paul van der Kla here and say we cannot look at ourselves. Like we need others to look at ourselves, and that's not a good way to look at yourself because it's not reliable, right? So yeah, you can find the flaws in yourself, maybe, but then can you solve them? Do you need to find the flaws in order to solve them? Because I don't think
yep.
so. I think actually that's why we can be saved because we don't need to see the flaws. We need to follow the straight and narrow.
Yeah, so reach out to the ineffable and the true and the good and the beautiful, and just focus on that, and just try your best to act and well, and worship in that direction.
Right. And like how do I know if I'm true or not? Right? Like I think we talked about this before. Like when I know that I'm true because it like I can be with like I can experience the knowledge, right? Like I'm in it. I like it flows through me. I speak it, right? Like I speak not my own words because they get given to me. Now they get given to me because I have eaten them before, right? Like I have taken them into me. I have digested them, right? Like I have spread them around and put them in the right place, right? Which I have done for some things, I have not done for other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I have recognition about the things that I have digested and the things that I haven't digested.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that I'm wrong about the things that haven't digested, but I'm not truthful because I cannot be true because I don't have that capacity, right? Like I don't have the skill to be in that relationship, even if the relationship is propositionally correct. And in other things, I do have the capacity to be in relationship, right? And like maybe my relationship is incomplete, right? Like maybe I'm lacking, I don't know, like a dimension in that relationship, right? But like then I have a partially correct relationship. Well, you see that this with a lot of materialists, right? Like they miss uh, part part of the quality of the relationship, right? And that leads eventually into nihilism, right? But there's a but that doesn't mean that they're completely false, right? Like they're still capable of
Yeah, yeah,
functioning
yeah,
in the
indeed.
world as right. And so there's a horizontal truth, right, which
Hmm?
basically allows you to engage with what's in front of you, and then there's a
Yeah.
vertical truth that allows you to relate to the problem on every layer of reality. And when you start applying the horizontal truth on the wrong layer, then we're in
Hmm.
pride, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Indeed,
it's
and that's the wrong placement issue,
mhm,
right? Yeah, and so interesting what you said. So about the digestion of like ideas that you are kind of echoing, or or you've kind of processed, but you are in a way after you've chewed on them, you can bring them back to bear. You bring them forth. Yeah, it's. I think that is the quality. If I from what I just read on St. Augustine, it was more or less that was his behavior, or his stance was something like that. It's like all these things that I have, all these gifts, um, they are nothing if they're not being used to
mhm,
aim upwards. And if
mhm.
if I'm not, using all these things that I've received, all these things that I've been given, and they're not being in service of the truth, then they are just toxic weapons, or they're just things to fool other people.
Masturbation.
Yeah, 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 indeed, and that is, it sounds so foreign, like encountering the text is so intense, because you maybe it's just because I haven't dealt with enough very outspoken Christians. Maybe Paul Van Nicolay should produce more videos. Um, but but it's that so outwardly, well, writing down worship basically is what it is. It's just singing praises
Hmm.
constantly.
Yeah.
It's so intense. It's like, oh my god, it's so foreign. It's like I've read
But,
whatever
but
amount of
imagine
modern
that you
books.
can speak like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, exactly. It's
Like,
nuts. It's unfathomable. It's like it's so foreign, so far away from what I'm used to, at least. And yeah, it's very striking. But I cannot help but feel awe when I, like, wow.
well, this
It's
is amazing because I've been doing a Bible study and we're going to the first book of Mark, I think. Anyway, and there's Jesus, and he's basically setting up the kingdom, right? Like, so he's going to all these places and he's performing miracles, right? Like he's casting out demons, and then he's healing the leper, right, or the leprosy,
leprosy.
whatever. And it's really interesting that, like, he's there among these people, and these people, they receive him in some way, right? But just imagine, right? Like you're one of these people. You're like, oh, I'm a Jew, and like some bad stuff going on, right, in my country, and like there's this random guy coming into my temple, or like there's like, um, yeah, he's speaking the truth, right? And they were also talking about he's having a teaching without. Uh, I don't know what the word was, but basically it's a participatory, right? Like he's lived it, right? Like he's speaking from the heart. He's not speaking from a
Yeah,
book.
yeah,
And so, like, well, what does that mean, right? Like how are you received? And when you're saying, well, like when I consume someone's words like that, I'm in awe, right? Just so imagine that these people were listening to Jesus, and they're in awe. Some of them aren't, right? They're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what? That's not in the book, right? But
yeah, yeah,
others, they're like, holy cow! Like,
yeah,
this is something I've never seen before.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's
uh, and they don't have internet, right? Like they don't have anything. You just this guy comes and they're like, what?
yeah,
And then there's this line and it says, what does this mean? And I'm like, I'm gonna have to meditate on that line. Like, what does it
Yeah,
mean?
give me 20 years and I'll get back to you. Yeah. Yeah, it's so, and it's such a blessing to be able to have that contact. That I mean, I am very grateful that I get to have that experience of awe, and
Mhm.
it's the most, you know, in the most ubiquitous of places. You're just like hanging out in your sofa reading, and it's like it's how powerful is that the words are so perennial, they're so timeless, that still the stories and the struggles, which the human struggles, are just the same. Like,
Mhm.
again, I was reading Augustine. This could have been, I mean, besides the praise and the kind of stance, which is just so surprising and foreign to me, but the issues that he talks about, and the students and the way people lived, and the way they thought that, you know, they were still having the same issues of putting up a modern frame, which was back in the year 300, on previous issues. The
Mhm.
same issues that we're living today. It's literally the same, just completely aware of the same societal issues, personal issues, of course, perennial problems. And it's still so present. And it's like, it's so amazing that these people were so, well, far sighted, that they could really produce something like this. And I think well, if you listen to them, then they say that it's only because they're in relation to the truth, that they keep telling you every page that it's not because of them. um, but yeah, I just, I think of the courage and the guts that it takes to really take that seriously. um,
Mhm.
I it's I it just sounds
Well,
terrifying to me.
go back to that. So I want to say, like, okay, go read Plato, The Republic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
okay.
also don't read it alone, because then you get whatever. But like, go read it. Um, we have a book club on Texas Wisdom Community where we went through the whole thing. We went through the whole thing, and I think we missed half of it. So like,
Yeah.
just FYI. So, um, yes, to go back to that, you feel like it takes balls, because
Yeah.
I'm not feeling that, but maybe I have too many balls. Like what do you mean? Like, it takes balls?
Okay. um Beautiful. So I think of the guy in the in one of the gospels. There's a guy that comes to Jesus and he says, you know, hey, I can you tell me the commandments? What are the things that I need to follow to live a good life? And he's like, hey, these are the commandments. And he's like, I've been keeping those since I'm like 5, since I have conscience.
Mhm.
What next? And then Jesus is like, yeah, well, sell everything you have and just follow me.
Mhm.
And then the guy gets really angry and leaves. Uh,
Mhm.
and then Jesus says, you know, I tell you, it is easier to go for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, for it is to someone with riches to go into the kingdom of heaven.
Mhm.
And I just think, yeah, I don't know if I would be able to, you know, against the advice of most of the people I know, let go of everything seriously. Like, just
Mhm.
like, hey, this is the thing. I'm going to show up at the church. Like, hey, I want to know, I'm going to start the ropes, and this is what I'm doing. But I'm also cognizant that maybe that's not the life that's out there for me. That's not my role,
Mhm.
you know? So there's this kind of, are you chosen
Mhm.
element, but also there's the, can you abandon the nice things that you might have? You know, and I don't know if I have the forbearance to first let go of the nice things that I've accumulated, because again, it came from a very poor place to make it, and now things are kind of working out.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm ready to let go of the of things yet. You know, it's like I have a very little time, and then there's the element. Okay, but I know that these things are temporal, and these things are of the now, and they're of the world. They're not of, you know, of truth
Mhm.
in itself. Um, so yeah, but deciding to store all your riches in heaven,
Mhm.
it's a tough transition. I don't know if I'm like, um yeah, spiritually ready. I think for that. I
But
don't know if I have the spiritual maturity for that.
I have a nice experience around that because I traveled through India when I was 21, 20 or something. And while I did that, like I lived like an Indian, right? Like I ate street food. I went to the shabby place to sleep. Like I had bad bugs and like
Where you do this?
I got a soggy in India.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I had a soggy mattress, right? Like I did 24 hours in the train, right? Or like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I was okay with it. And then I'm there at night and I know that when I take the plane, I have a place to go back to. And I'm like, I feel like I'm cheating.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like
yeah. You have
and
training
like
wheels. Yeah.
I don't even know if I would have been able to do it without having that. It's weird. Like it's because it doesn't matter, right? Like in that moment, it doesn't matter. Right? Like it has nothing to do with what you're going through. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is just a temporal thing.
Yeah.
And and even I might choose the temporal thing to be permanent because I thought about that, right? But it's still not until you make it, right? And it's like and that has to do with commitment, right? And yeah, to go back to balls, right? Like I think truth conviction. Like when you've seen it, you're disgusted with yourself if you go against it.
Yeah.
Is it, like it sucks, like because it requires more and more and more of
The temptations are still there, huh? I mean,
you.
like they're still there.
Yeah, but
Like
not
the
in the same
disgust
way
is
though.
also there, huh? So and thank God for that. Like I think that we can have that reaction and aversion, and then that's a spot where you can really identify clearly the wheat from the chaff, and you see, okay, yeah, this is chaff, this is
Mhm.
shit. We need to burn this. But then habit happens, and then
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you're still eating shit. It's like this is still going on,
yeah,
and you're
you're
still
still
choosing
eating
to
your
do
own
it.
puke. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Just so
Just make
yeah.
sure you're not eating your own flesh, because that's where you get into a real bad place. No, but seriously, right? Like when you start cannibalizing,
Mm,
that's that's where you like if you eat your puke, it's like yeah, that's not good, but also uh you 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 can get away from it. But if you start eating your flesh, right? Like now you're self-referential, right? Like
yeah,
like you're stuck. You're cannibalizing on what you have attained so far, and like you're just gonna end up collapsing, right? I think this is actually what's happening in the West, but that's a different problem. Um, so to go back to this conviction, right? I think there's in the Bible there's a point. Maybe it's in Revelations or maybe it's somewhere else where it basically says that there's people who turn away from God after having known Him, and those people are completely screwed, right? But those are the most powerful people, right? Because that's where you get into dark places, because you've tasted the power, right? And now you're putting that back into pride, right? Like now you're turning that towards your own ends.
yeah. And the treason is a thousandfold, right? Because
Uh-huh.
well, you knew me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there is a lot of that is at least applicable to me. I think
Oh.
um yeah, for without a doubt. I mean, I had intense experiences
Hmm.
where I was, in contact with something that, it was beyond, and I could acknowledge it and like savor it, and like I got to be in that little blip of transcendence,
Hmm.
and then that didn't make me chaste the next week. That didn't do that.
Hmm.
And that's Yeah.
Well, so I want to go back to my Bible study, right? So the first
Yeah.
one is he cast out demons, right? So what is a demon? Well, demon is something that takes possession of you. It's inside of you, right? And so he casts it out, right? So
Yeah.
it's it's in some sense the person is not involved, right?
Mhm.
Like the like the person is
The person
subjected,
is a vehicle. Yeah.
right? Like it's subjected by the bad spirit,
Hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
subjected by Christ casting it out.
Yeah.
But then you have the leper, right? Which is someone who is unclean, right? And the unclean person, he's begging Jesus, heal me or clean me or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then Jesus turns towards him in compassion, right? So,
Yeah.
so Jesus is moved, also compelled. But what happens when he casts out, when he touches him, right? Which is actually a sin, right? Because you're not allowed to touch unclean people, right? So Jesus is a sinner at that point. And
No, it's a
then,
social norm, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, it's
Okay.
not a
Yeah.
social norm. It's in the
Okay.
in the Torah, right? Like it's law.
Mhm.
It's not a norm.
Mhm.
It's law.
Okay.
and and so he breaks the law, and then he tells him, "Don't tell anyone," right? And he demands of him, "Don't tell him." And the first thing he does is he tells anyone,
Yeah.
everyone. And
Run
so
around the town.
that, but that's the same, right? So I want to contextualize a bunch of things, right? So what is uncleanliness, right? Like the unclean people, they had to shout that they were unclean, or they had this rattle, right? And then everybody would walk around them. They had to go outside of the camp, right? They were socially distanced, literally,
Podcasts.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is like this was a real thing. But what came with that, right? Shame, um, like people treat you with disgust,
Hmm.
right? Like there's a whole stigma associated with this impurity that you're having. And so what is the thing that Jesus breaks? The impurity, right? Like the stigma. Like he's basically proclaiming that it's more important for me to touch you, right? To bring you back into the fold than to be wary of your disease,
Yeah.
right? So the spiritual damage is more significant than the physical damage. And then Jesus has to go outside the city in a place where he's alone. So he takes on the banishment, right, of that person. And so if you refer this to a person that you're trying to help, right, like someone who's like on drugs or whatever, right, and they're out of society, like how do you get them back in? Well, you have to expose yourself to them and have them feel a sense of comfort, right? Like they have to reestablish that sense of connection.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen to you? You will be tainted as a consequence,
Yeah.
right? Like this is going to like wreck you.
It's gonna affect you. Yeah. Exactly. You
Right.
need to
And
experience them. Yeah. Their
yeah,
life. You need to be there, and that. Yeah.
yeah, and maybe if you have a family with kids, you shouldn't go home because you're going to bring that into your house, and you don't want to have that shit in your house. So you're going to be going out with the rattle. I'm tainted, right? You took over that taint, but that's the only way to get those people back into the fold, right? Because if nobody's going to take on their sin and carry that sin around, like how are they going to get? How are they going to heal? They're not. How are they going to find trust in humanity again after being like pushed out of society? They're not. Like someone is going to have to carry that sin to bring them back into the body. Now, so that's one side, and now it's like, okay, like how does that relationship between you and God, like what parts of you, right, like the prideful parts, right, like are basically unclean, and you need to be cleansed of, right? And like what is this revelation that you had, or this blessing, like whatever, like I don't even know what word you want to, this transcendent
Yeah,
experience,
no,
right?
it's just yeah, a moment that was the, yeah, just some, yeah, like some sort of a vision, but it was very quick. I was doing something else. I was biking. And I was like
Okay.
daydreaming. It's like very
Okay, that's
dangerous.
not the best
Yes,
moment.
yes, yes.
but
Yeah,
but again, right? Like, okay, so you get pulled out, right?
yeah,
Like, so you're unclean, and you're like, oh, this is what it's like to be clean, or this is what it's like to be in a clean environment. And
yeah,
you're like, you don't know how to be in that unclean, in that clean environment, right? You don't
yeah,
know how to be not dirty. And
yeah,
so, what's the first thing that you're going to do? Well, the first thing that you're going to do likely is like, what the fuck just happened? Let's tell everybody what happened instead of go to the priest, right? Because that's what the guy got told to do by Christ, like go to the priest.
yeah,
So that, but also, it's like he's too much in joy to recognize the situation that he's in and that he's not fully saved because he hasn't reintegrated. Right? Because what does Jesus say? Go to the priest, let them declare you clean. Right? What does that mean? Well, that means that he needs to be recognized again, right? Like he needs to get,
yeah,
and then he needs to make an offering to God as well, right? So he needs to get approval again that he's part of society and that everybody can get along again. And that's the other half, right? Like, so if you're clean, you still have to integrate. If
yeah. Yeah, and I think maybe we might have missed a couple of steps.
probably,
So, yeah,
probably,
probably.
probably.
Yeah, probably.
But
Yeah,
but but
it's
but like my
yeah,
realization was, if you save someone, right, or you yourself get saved, you're gonna sin afterwards. Like there's no
yeah,
way to receive this blessing and keep it.
yeah,
Like that's not an option. Like,
yeah,
and you can even say it's like, well, a flaw, or like a failing of Jesus, or at least a limitation, right? Because the guy didn't listen to him.
yeah.
So it's like, well, what happened there, right? Like that means that there's just a fundamental constraint
Yeah,
that
it's
was imposed.
the flask or the container is not ready to receive, or
Hmm.
is not in the correct shape, or at least things ebb out and it just spills.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
and there's, but yeah, and maybe this is another prideful thought. It's like, there's a lot of um there's a lot of calling in churches. There's also the idea of the inhabitation of the Holy Spirit, and like, we act through, we let God act through us, right? And there's this idea of like, you receive the Spirit and you get cleansed, or it helps heal wounds
Hmm.
inside, and then you can go out there and be a better person in the world. Now, the prideful thought is the following, like, well, if you are to be an instrument, and it is repeated again and again and again, that we are the body of Christ in the world as churches,
Hmm.
um to what extent are you responsible for polishing the instrument? And is that a thing that so again, if this magical spirit, air, is going to flow through
Hmm.
the instrument,
Hmm.
you are the instrument.
Hmm.
To what extent are you, so should you try to polish the instrument and perfect it? Is that on to you? Is that naked pride, or is it just by letting the spirit flow through it? That's going to happen as a consequence, um, as the spirit just continues to do that.
Hmm. Well, like, now we're getting into this problem, right? Like, so a frame gets erected, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, how long do I hold on to the frame? Like, maybe it's an important frame. Like, how do you know? Right? But maybe it's a constraining frame, or maybe it's both. It's like, so like there's no good answer there, right? Apart from that, you can't hold on to it forever,
No.
right? And so, like, I have a lot of experiences like this with yoga or qigong, like where like I'm now having this muscle bother me, right? And so, like, that means that there's a calling, right? Like, my attention is called to that place, and I have to do something. So, like, I need to untense it, and then it's like, well, maybe I feel another muscle, right? I need to. So, but also, like, I need I need to go back from it and let it be, right? But if I can't let it be in a healthy way, I need to attend to it more, right? So, like, there's this depth, right? Like, this investment that I have to make, right? And, like, I'm not going to be perfect at the first time that I do this, right? So like there's this reciprocation where, like, I have to pay my attention there somewhat, but, like, I can't do that all day, which I actually do sometimes. like like
I believe you.
hmm?
I
No, like,
believe you. Yeah,
I've
yeah,
actually done that for 3 hours or whatever. Like, I'm just laying in bed with my spine, and I like maybe it's actually necessary, right? Because, like, maybe my spine is so fucked up that, like, it's preventing me from so many other things. Like, I'm actually
Hmm.
somewhat convinced of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but, like, you can feel it, right? in in the participation with your spine, that, like, oh, like, if that happens, then all of these things go away. And it's like, but I can't sustain it. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that I need to spend 3 hours, or does that mean that I need to go and do qigong, or yoga, or play football, like, or go racing on my bike? Like, I don't know what the answer is to that one, but, like, I have to find it somewhere, right? Or I have to ignore it. But, like, I think ignoring it is sin, right? Like, because I am called to do something about it. And,
yeah,
like who am I? Like, I'm probably gonna have to deal with that for the next 3 years. And after
yeah,
3 years, I'll figure it out.
yeah, yeah. And the purposely ignoring the call is it's not only difficult, but it's so unnatural. It's, it's ignore it just purposely, and it's like there, it's on fire. It's like, yeah, try not to scratch. And then you're like agonizing about it. Yeah, it's I
But you
yeah
have to
I
with some
yeah,
things, right? Like, some things don't serve you. You just have to ignore them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
oh, actually, I've been doing this with a lot of people, right? So you have the kingdom prayer, right? So, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it is in heaven, so it will be on earth, right? Like, these 4 steps, they're super important, right? Like, so what is it? Okay, first we have the kingdom. That's the goal, right? Like, that's our orientation.
yeah,
How do we get the kingdom? Participating in the will, right? So that's the means of getting there.
yeah,
And then we have heaven, which is that which informs, and then earth is that which has to be transformed. So, if you want to set your thoughts to the right place, go to these 4 steps. And you can go to the forgiveness part as well, right? Because, like, that's relatively important if you're uh, you're in an emotional frustration, right? But I like, the forgiveness part is secondary, right? Like, what is most important is that you can see where you
the
need to
king.
go, and then you can find the means to go there. Because if you don't know where you need to go, you can find the means all you want. Like, you can forgive people all you want if you don't know what heaven is, or how the kingdom manifests, or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's also, well, it's like I'm thinking to what extent. So you're giving the answer through the prayer, right? Because you're saying like that thy kingdom will come. Let the objective, uh, put the bear the objective in mind first, and think of ways
Or
to
the
get there.
highest, right?
Right, the highest, exactly. So bear the highest. Try to place the highest and try to fathom ways to it to get there. Um,
like
and
the
that would be
second
like
part is
a.
important, right? Because it's thy will, right? So
Mhm.
so if we go to a kingdom,
Yeah,
like what is a kingdom? Well, a kingdom has a king, right? So a king can tell you things directly, or he
yeah,
can send heralds, which are angels, right, to tell you.
yeah,
Or you can find your mayor, who's like a servant of the king, to tell you something, and then you can still participate in the will of the kingdom, right? So there's many pathways by which the king can reach you.
yeah,
And so there's many ways that you can listen and participate in that will.
yeah. Yeah,
And
and it has to be fractal. So that's where I want to push back on the forgiveness thing. So it's the because I think that the certain acts that are good are informed by the highest
mm-hmm,
at the different levels.
mm-hmm,
So they are, they're echoes of the highest thing, and
mm-hmm.
and of course they need to be in participation of the high thing, or they have to have the highest thing in its north
Mm-hmm.
for in order to them to be healing, right? So that's what I think that's what you're trying to say.
Well,
Um,
like they can be good in and of themselves, right? Because
yeah,
like if the king says pay your taxes, and you're paying your taxes because you want the guy out of your house, right? Or you don't want to get into jail, you're still participating, and you're fulfilling your job. You're just not a good citizen, right? Like
yeah,
so they can still
yeah,
participate. Like you can
yeah,
participate unwillingly. Like
yeah. Indeed, indeed. No, no, and then that's exactly where you come to the relational aspect and the qualitative aspect.
mhm,
Okay, you're doing this thing, but how? How
mhm.
are you doing it with a smile? Are you doing it with reverence? Are you doing it with awe? Or are you doing it just forcefully? And are you doing it just by following, you know, just by inertia?
Right, and,
Um,
and 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 are you sending the tax collector out with a smile on his face so that he doesn't beat up the next guy? Like that's important, right?
yeah, 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 indeed. Yeah, and that I must say it's become more of a thing that I've been able to integrate. That kind of emphasis on that the qualitative and the relational is paramount, and no matter the interaction.
Mhm.
That if the golden rule, just like try to treat people like you would want to treat them to treat you.
Yeah,
That's
don't do
just
that when you're depressed, by the way. But keep going.
yeah. Um, yeah, that's just been through the years. That's just been reinforced again and
Mhm.
again and again as a real dictum of wisdom, and that's been really good. That's like some firm ground to latch yourself onto. That's been very helpful. Yeah, yeah, but the pride is indeed being able to self consciously let go of your ideas, or at least, well, it's actually, no, that's wrong. So I already realized my own error. But yeah, attributing to yourself an idea. It's like, no, these are many dead people thoughts, the dead people's thoughts, my friend. So it's not even
Well,
yours.
but the idea is also from heaven, right? Like it's just
Yeah, yeah,
heaven's property. Like what are you
yeah.
claiming heaven's property? Like
That's great. Indeed. Yeah, indeed. So if you think like Peugeot, then yeah, indeed. Everything is informed from the top down, right? So yeah, that's the realm of the world of forms for my
Mhm.
friend that likes the Republic. So yeah, indeed.
Yeah, no, but seriously, right? Like it because that's what the pride is, right? Like it's attributing something to yourself that's not
Yeah,
yours, right? And it's like, Well, yeah, you may have been the vessel that brought like 15,000 elements together. Like that's a miracle, literally, right? That all of these 15,000 things got brought together. But also, did you really do that? Like, did you go out and like, I need to have that thing and that one, not that one, but I'll take that one, and then I put them
In
together.
this proportion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's not
yeah,
you. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Indeed. Yeah, that's been yeah, and I think that's why I personally need to just go and prostrate myself every Sunday. It's like at least once a week I need to not be a little shit. That's like it's a ritual of like this is yeah, say thanks. But it's a prayer. It's a practice. It needs to be. It's a repetition. It's not a puzzle that is to be solved. Not a paradox. We need to. It's just something to do. It's literally like a daily sacrifice. I think.
yeah, and
Um,
like I think taking this, we're created in the image of God, like seriously, right? Like what does that mean?
yeah.
Like like that means that we're a mirror of heaven that shines on earth.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's me.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
okay,
that. Exactly.
like
Yeah.
that's my identity. Any other identity is not something that's mine. Like that's not me. That's something that I'm assuming to be a proper mirror.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because like we've been having this discussion about self transcendence, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, how do you transcend the self? Like that's not a thing that you can do. And it's also like, if you transcend, like, why is there a self involved, right? Like if the thing that you transcended is you, then it wasn't you because you transcended it, and it's no longer you. Like then it wasn't you in the first place. Like it has to be other.
I I don't know if maybe the self transcendence maybe you're arguing the language, right?
No, but it's not only the language, because the language implies how to relate to it, right? Like if it's self transcendence, that's you doing it. It's not God. It's like, no, like that's pride. Self
Yeah.
transcendence. If you say I did self transcendence, it's like that's a prideful statement. Like, sorry.
Oh yeah, I mean, imagine going walking down the street. Yeah, I am a transcendent being. It's like, okay, buddy, sure. But
Yeah,
yeah, okay. So indeed, so if you put it that way on under that mirror, I think you can also identify it. Like you can also treat it as, I just got rid of all this crap I had on that I was latching onto, and I've
right.
left that behind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you could describe that in that way, but yeah, choosing the way you say that and go about that, and by whose power you did that, I think is important.
Well, but like I think I've been having this discussion in many ways with Christians, like for real,
Yeah.
right? Because like what is it actually saying? Well, I'm saying that there's a right way to look at things, right? And the right way to look at things is not to identify yourself with anything effective, right? Because that's not you. Now, I might be dependent on like a bunch of things, right? Like having this house. And having this house informs partially who I am, right? Because like I have a bunch of patterns that I live out every day. If this house is gone, I'm not living out those patterns. Like, and I will change, right? So like there's there's something of me in this house, right? Or connected to this house. But that's because I assumed it, right? Like it's my skin. Like I wear it. It's clothing that I use to protect myself, to prevent nature from enveloping. But that's not me. And if I start thinking that as me, right? Like you can take whatever layer of clothing, right? Oh, my clothing is my family. My clothing is my nation. My clothing is my faith. Like my clothing is this. My clothing is that. Anytime that you do that, well, first of all, you're prideful. But secondly, you destroy the world. Like that's how people get killed. Don't touch my clothing.
Can you can you try to explain that in different words? So how does the world, how are you killing the world by identifying with, because these are your different facets of your identity, right? So we are, you're both a son, a brother, a neighbor,
Right?
co-worker, etc. All these things at the same time, and you're saying that in the action of ascribing.
No, Diego, you're not. Like you're not them. Like it's not a state of the universe, right? You adopt that, right? You can disown somebody and say like you're no longer my child, and then you treat them as if they're not your child, and they won't be. They just won't be. If you can do that, right? Like that, we can have a discussion about whether you're capable of doing that. But like if I throw away this piece of clothing, like it's gone. Now there's clothing that's more stuck onto me, right? That I can't.
Yeah, but you're saying that the error is in the identification with the things that are.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying
but that doesn't mean that I don't need this clothing, right? Like because like if that's all the clothing I have, like I'm gonna have to hold on to this because else I die. But that doesn't mean that it's me. That just means that I need it to survive. And
but I don't know if you should. I don't know if we should impose such a utilitarian view or kind of functional.
Not utilitarian. Why is that utilitarian? Like
no, say so. I mean, like more like transactional. So it's more.
No, it's not transactional. Like I take care of my clothes. I wash them. I love them.
Yeah.
Like it's
but
not
they're not
transactional.
you.
Yeah, no, I like love your neighbor, love your clothes, like love everything.
Yeah.
Like if you love, right? Like I was talking to this guy and he was talking about this food is made with love, and like that's an ingredient that you like it doesn't matter what you do if you don't do it with love, like it's not going to taste this nice. And it's like yes, like you need to love the things that you do because else they don't have quality. They don't have quality. But that also means that you're in relationship to them, right? Because like you're loving, right? Like it's being subjected to you, right? The things that you love are subjected to your love.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to do that, right? In order to love them. Like if you because you can't if you identify with them, you can't love them.
Well, as I know a lot of people that don't have any issues loving themselves, but
no, they do. Like, come on, like, they're not loving themselves. They think they are, but that's a different problem. That's not love.
Yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting thing to be very sharp about. Don't identify with the things that would be markers for your identification, and love them but not identify with them. That's an interesting idea.
But you can assume an identity, right? It's like in order to love my kid, I need to be a father. It's like okay, like that's fine. Like love being a father, fine. Like, but that's not you ultimately.
Yeah, and that's in repose to contrast to the you is the way Jesus looks at you, right? Which is we pray, help me see me how you see me, right? and that try to bring from me what you think my image should be, right? That's the idea you're trying to reinforce. Yeah, that
and
is
and
yeah.
like to connect that to life, right? Like that's how you bring life. Because if you don't do that, it's like you are going to be an authoritarian, like in that domain. If you don't act out of love, you're going to be an authoritarian.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't and so like these people who would say they love themselves, they're authoritarians to themselves.
Oh yeah, I know a few. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is very helpful. This is very fun. I am yeah. It's helpful to flesh things out and put them more, bring them back to basics. It's very helpful to place the pride right in its little corner of like attributing to yourself. That's I think really a key thing, and that is also like in a more practical way is easier to identify when you're doing that. When
Mm-hmm.
you can really, that's easy. It's a very useful way to look at things because you can catch it right there. And yeah, just the relational aspect I think is so fundamental. Is really it really is like, I mean I think it's no, I mean it is a mystery in so many ways, but it's there is a good reason why we think of God as a three in one relational thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the one thing, but it's like the Father, Son, and Spirit in relation. That's the highest. The highest is this. It's not the. It's the one, but at the same time, the one is not one. It's agape. It's like something like relational love at the
Mm-hmm.
highest, and that's the quality that we should try to echo down the all the levels. Um, yeah, those things I think are they seem to me as more climbable mountains
Mm-hmm.
than me thinking of letting everything go. That seems
well,
more doable.
well, that's the problem, right? Like we
Yeah.
we 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 and especially with propositions, right? Like we get out of the things that are revealed to us, and then we're like, oh yeah, I can see how that would work, and it's like, yeah, but can you see how you would do it? Like, because like seeing how it would work is like, okay, like maybe you can see that, but seeing how you get there, it's like no. And also, it's like I think religion is actually really simple. Like not easy, but simple, right? Like there's just a bunch of moving components fractally related to each other. And like if you get the proper discernment, you can just move through it, right? And you just have to have a bunch of fundamentals. And like, yeah, maybe you're a little bit stupid and like you can't see all the things around you, but like who gives a shit? Like you just need to see the important things.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but like how do you get to the important things? Well, my kingdom come, right? Of thy kingdom come. Wow, okay. Hello, Freud.
Yeah. That's quite the pointless slip indeed. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Well, but it is also my kingdom, like to be fair. Like I'm part of it. Like
Let's hope so, man. Let's hope so. I hope they like Inquisitors up there. I think.
well, I'll just have to go to the 14th century. Like they need to. I think they have a job application open there.
Yeah.
No, like
Yeah. I think you're correct. By the way, I think indeed so, and I think that there is funnily enough, intellect and having this capacity to over complicate things
Mm-hmm.
and dig deeper into things is a double edged sword. Like it totally makes it so that you are aware of way more things about the world and yourself and how they're flawed that
Mm-hmm.
keep you. Sometimes they distract you from the things that are really worth doing, and noticing the just participating in the pattern without being so obsessed about every little thing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like we I've seen this a lot. Like again, very simple people, but just like very wholeheartedly participating in a congregation and just being being able to to really embody all those things that people like Jordan Hall can talk about 6 weeks on nonstop to try to describe what it means to be in that place.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, but are you there? Like, are you
Mm-hmm.
there? Like, but are you there? So it's like, okay, we can lay
Like
down
like
all the
like
constraints.
if you're there, would you need 6 weeks?
Exactly. That's exactly this is okay, but yeah. So that's indeed.
Well, that's the way to test yourself, right? Like if you need 1,000 words, you can't paint the picture. Like you're
Yeah.
not there. Like you're just not there. It's like because I know, right? Like I had a bunch of ideas and I was like circling, and I was like, oh, on this layer this, and on this layer that, on this layer that, right? And like at a certain point, I'm like, oh, it's just this. Like it just like it's obvious. But like you know how much time that took me, right? And it's like it's like, well, what am I doing, right? Like if it's not obvious to me, like what that's vanity, right? In some sense, right? And like I don't know, like maybe you need to go there by walking the path, because like I think there is participation in the work, like literally, right? Like because I can do it, right? Like I can see the intelligibility around certain areas. Um, but if you're not there,
Yeah,
it's
you
like
can hypothesize all you want.
because because this is where I went with Mark. It's like, okay, like this idea, like I know there's something there important, but like it's just a dragon. Like I can't deal with this. I'm not going to spend any time on it because it's going to eat me. Like it's just going to eat me. Like some things you just need to leave a mystery, and maybe the mystery will be revealed to you. But it's not going to be by like stepping into the dragon, because the dragon is going to eat you.
Yeah.
And that's the humility, and this is why you need a, a, a sage, right? Like a mentor.
Yeah.
And the thing that I learned today was that Jews were called to mentor in the end of their life. And I'm like, oh, that's what Jesus is doing. Like he took 12 disciples and he mentored them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Yeah, indeed. And I think we get the most satisfaction from that. Like that's one of the things that there's seldom things that are feel as meaningful as that, and that are really as meaningful as that, and really helping someone out and getting them and making them capable
Mm-hmm.
in something and just instructing them and having them see and grow and like you see that and
That's
being
the
able to
glory.
participate in that. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful that we can play a part in that. That's just
And
mind
if if
boggling.
if you
It's
see
amazing.
yourself speaking through their mouth, right? It's like, wow. It's like, oh, and then Christ is speaking through my mouth. What does that mean? Like 2,000 years later, right? It's like, holy, and that you can participate in it. Like that's the thing that's open to you.
Yeah, Yeah.
But yeah, pride is a big deal. Like this sola scriptura bullshit. Like like I'm I'm reading this stuff, right? In in the Bible study, and like there's old people there, right? Like 70 years stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm saying things and they never conceived of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like you're a good Christian, right? Like you've been trying your life and you're at the end of your life and you're still trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
But you didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I think there's these fundamental things like you're saying, right? These paradoxes, right? And it's like some people don't even see that they're in the paradox. They don't even realize it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's blissful ignorance, huh? I mean,
Yeah.
like, if it's not, again, if it's not functionally preventing them from participating, what importance is it really? Again, besides
Yep.
being this curiosity little thing, this masturbatory thing that you have, that is beautiful to wonder upon, and like it's, yeah. And at the same time, when I am still, this doesn't take away from the fact that there are things that I just are so striking, and I still remember the first time I heard John Vervaeke talk.
Mhm.
Just that guy talking. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you? This fascination of like,
Yeah.
how can you handle language this way? It's like so striking, and
Mhm.
that there was so much beauty and excellence in it. It's like, wow, this is incredible.
Mhm.
Um, but again, um, how would you say to a lady that's working at Walmart? There we go back to, okay, what is really the essence of what we're trying to. So there is value in being nuanced, of course, obviously, but it's just not the most important thing.
Until it is, but yes.
Yeah.
Like this is why we need the monasteries, right? It's like, yes, like not everybody has to like climb up all the way Jacob's ladder, right?
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to have the one person that's climbed all the way up so that they can tell us that we're making a totalitarian system that's gonna kill millions of people. Like we're gonna need that person, and we're gonna need to be able to listen to that person and don't think that he's a fool and kill him
Yeah.
because like that happened. Like
Yeah. But have we learned from our mistakes? I don't know.
um, I don't even know if I learned from my mistakes.
Exactly. So, I mean, if I met Jesus today and this guy was just like, again, as he was in the gospel, spitting fire 24/7, I also don't know how I would react. It's like, this person is extreme. Like, oh,
Yeah,
this
but
this guy's
would
crazy.
you even recognize it?
Yeah.
'Cause,
I mean, probably. I mean, to be fair, he would be probably talking about crypto, but I mean, it's just,
no, I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
I don't think so.
No, I'm joking, but it's so many gurus, but that's a whole different topic. But yeah, well, they're prideful. They're casting out what they think should be attributed to themselves glory and saying, follow me. I am a leader that you should pay attention to, and then all the pieces fall back. And yeah, of course they get misled, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's quite a thing to keep your ego in check. And I think like the humility practices are for me the most attainable and easy to grasp. Like, okay, be thankful, just like recognize, see, this is not yours, this is God's. Say thanks, just pray, sit down. Remember, be humble. That's easier. I think that's more also doable. Literally, like it's ritualizable. It's a ritual that is easier
but
to
not for
participate in.
me.
Yeah,
Like for me, is really like gratitude is. I suck at gratitude.
yeah,
No good. Humility, fine. Gratitude, no.
yeah. I think it's a frame question, Manuel. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, because again, if you're not able to feel gratitude, you're not aware of the things that are given to you enough. They're not as conscious or present to you as they should be.
Yeah.
And that, we have that in tiny things. When you lose something, you didn't know this value that thing had until you lost it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do that exercise mentally without losing anything and just saying like, wow, look at all the shit I have, and I ate enough today. I don't have to worry about my calorie intake other than for aesthetic purposes. Like I can eat enough. I have a roof above my head. Isn't that a miracle? Yeah, I mean, I just think that thankfully, I'm very that comes intuitively to me, but maybe because I saw a lot of people losing most of the shit they had for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, and that, well, this country is just so insanely rich that and that is just so bizarrely pregnant with riches that it's hard for me not to have it constantly present. And I'm very happy. Yeah, thank the Lord for that I can bring that to bear daily without any effort. It's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. Yes, I should be grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. So, um, let's bring it back to pride because I want to go back to this. It takes balls to speak the truth. So you wanna restate that from your current perspective?
Yeah. So I think that the thing that I think for me seems so difficult to walk the walk of a saint
Mm-hmm.
is, like really letting everything go that you possess and that you have. And for example, just let's talk about having a chaste life, or just going and living to a monastery, and you reject the idea of ever marrying, ever having kids, ever having a career, whatever, and or any property you might have had or accumulated or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to let everything go. And you are recognizing, of course, that you're doing it for something that's way higher. And in comparison, all these things are, they only derive their value from how related they are to the highest. And you're
Mm-hmm.
cognizant of that. But that doesn't take away from you so that it is still very painfully vivid to you how those things still are part of the shelter you inhabit, part of your clothes, but also of how painful it would be to let go of them.
Yeah, but I, I
Just
don't I don't know about this, right? Because
yeah,
like
you don't.
I'm actually now I'm making the connection to gratitude,
Yeah,
right? Because why am I not grateful? Like, well, I had this experience when I was like 15. It's like I could get drunk today or not, and then tomorrow would just be the day, and I'd live my day. And like effectively, what I do today doesn't matter, right? And it's like that's false on some level, but it's also true, right? Like you're just gonna wake up and you're gonna do what you think you have to do, and yesterday's yesterday. Like that's just gonna be the case. And so I like I'm not advising this, and this is like don't think about the world in this way because like it's gonna mess you up. But also like yeah, like that's how I thought about the world for a long time, right? And if you're thinking about the world in that way, it's hard to be grateful, right?
yeah,
Because like It's also hard to
Yeah,
like.
indeed. There's like you're of course there's this sense of powerlessness and lack of agency.
Well,
What
it's
gives?
not. No, but that's not even necessary, right? It's just indifference,
Yeah,
and that's apathy, right? Like that's going to lead you into apathy. So,
yeah,
and I had a meaning crisis, like a severe one, right? So like that apathy is just going to lead to a lack of meaning in your life, and then you don't know what to do, which is what happened to me literally. So
yeah.
the gratitude is important with that, but also like this is why virginity is important, right? Like if you're a virgin, you lack participatory knowledge. If you don't engage in the propositional knowledge, like, you're not lacking. Like in what way are you lacking? Like this is my like when I was in India was my problem. It's like why are these billboards here? Like why are these huge as signs where they're displaying Western luxury over these people who never gonna be able to attain it? Because that's evil. Like if they never knew about it, like they would live their
Hmm.
life because they don't
Yeah,
know. Like it's the knowing better in the
yeah.
age of gnosis. That's the problem. Like oh yeah, we know how it could be perfect because like we invented communism. Like that's that's where things go wrong. Like oh like I like or oh I had this transcendent experience. I should live like this all the time. That's where things go wrong. Like the world should be like this because like I had this experience once. It's like are you for real? Like if we all would be stoned, then the world would be a better place. Yes, until there's no power anymore. Like,
Yeah. So, what I'm losing what you're wanting to communicate with that. So, indeed. Um, so, I hear the, there's a cruelty to so knowing better makes you aware of the things you might not have, right?
Mhm.
And you wouldn't have access to that
And that makes
otherwise.
you obsessed, right? Like now you get
Right.
resentment, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And you were connecting this to virginity
Yes.
in the sense that if you that would be the not knowing. If you don't know, then you're in naivety, and then yeah, okay, but
So like why is it
you could,
important to be a virgin when you marry? Because you're not comparing your partner to all the previous partners. And that's unfair to the partner. Like that's a really good reason. Apart from other reasons. But like that's a really good reason. Because
yeah.
because like yeah, like your partner might actually be shit. But do you know when a partner is shit?
I don't know. Well, I mean, of course, the world is just yeah. I mean, we go back to the qualitative.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yes, maybe you haven't done this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but how many things have you seen, my friend? And to what degree, and how are you carrying this chastity?
Well, yeah, that's
And
why you need
so
to marry early, right?
right,
Like it makes sense what's happening, right? Like if we have birth control and we can marry at 30 years old,
yeah,
then obviously we want to have sexual partners before that, blah 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 blah, right? But
yeah,
also, what is that doing? Like,
yeah. No, it did, yeah. But if you wanted to catch it before the thoughts got really twisted, then you have to get it before they get a phone. So, and that would be at 12. So, good luck with that.
well, I
Yeah.
was still in the 60s with my reasoning. Okay.
Yeah. 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 I
So
think
yeah.
blissful. Yeah, but again, but once you know, so once you're in the know,
Hmm.
and I think there would be even more value to chastity when you are aware that there's all these other people that are not doing that, and then they're all crazy about it, and you are deciding not to do it, that's a way more, you know that, say there's all this luxury in the West, but you decide not to chase it.
Yeah,
I
but
think
like,
that there's something to
is
that.
that value? Yeah, but like that sounds like, is that value actually bringing glory? Like, I'm like that. It's like, I don't know. Like, there's this distinction between uh, people who do things which are within their nature, right? Because they're gifted, right? So you you're grateful because you're gifted with having gratitude. I'm
Yeah.
great, like I'm humble because I'm gifted with being humble because I know how when I'm stupid and when I'm not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like, did I work for that?
Yeah.
Yes, but also no, right? Like
Yeah.
that just came to me. So
Yeah.
is that better? Because
Yeah.
if I'm going to be in a race on this aspect and I'm going to be first, like, how good is that? I I mean, it's amazing in some level, but like it's not amazing because I willed it, right? Like I aligned my will with it. But I did align my will with it. But also I like it happened to me. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing that I do the things that aren't aligned with my will, right? Like that frustrate me and I still overcome. That's where the glory is. I don't think the glory is in the achieving, because the achieving only matters if it wouldn't have been achieved without try, right?
Yeah. So why is there glory in the chaste person that has an idea of what they're missing? That you said that there might not be, right? That if I
Mm-hmm.
understand correctly. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's mysterious, but I know that I couldn't do it. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that
Well,
that's something that I
for
will not
you
be
there
able to
is,
attain. Yeah.
right? For you there is, right? But that's
Yeah.
like yeah, but yeah, like some people can make an awesome painting, right?
Yeah.
Like if I made that same painting, that would be a miracle. For them, it's not a
Yeah.
miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. I just struggle with the denial of agency and therefore pride. So that's a signal of my pride that is demanded of me as I read the Bible. It's too much to bear. It is quite a lot to ask.
Well,
And yeah,
yeah, I wanna put it in a different way, right? It's like, because you have, well, follow, no, what is it? Have faith, and all things will be added onto you. Is that it?
yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
what does it mean for things to be added onto? Well, that means that they're second order effects,
yeah,
right? So you
indeed.
don't pursue them.
Yeah, exactly. You seek
You
the
do
one.
things, and then they they manifest. And
Yeah,
so if we go back to your pride thing, um, it's like, no, you seek the kingdom of God, and your pride disappears. Like like
just like that.
yes, like it's. I don't think it's more simple or difficult than that. Now, doing that might not be easy, but
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
you can't you can't fight the devil with the devil. Like that's like
Indeed.
like that's what the
Yeah.
devil wants. It's like, yeah, you keep doing that. Like you keep summoning me to beat me. Like I'll send you all the troops you need, bro.
Yeah. No, this brings me to, yeah. You made me think of bringing the devil to cure the spiritual wounds. Made me think of the. Now we'll just make this chip. It's gonna make you very sane. You're not gonna. Not your anxiety is gonna be gone. You know, it's
Mhm.
okay. We'll find the right pill. It's good. It's
Yeah.
gonna be great. It's like, yeah, that's exactly the problem. Yeah, that's the right way to formulate the problem. That is really good. Oh, indeed, and but indeed, that that is a nice quest, isn't it? To continue to ponder on the kingdom. Uh,
Just live it in faith,
I need
and it
to
will
find
be
this.
added
This.
on to you.
Yeah, I need to find this church you're going to. I want to see what grape juice they're giving you. This is some good stuff.
Well, they planted on fertile ground. I can tell you that.
Nice.
So yeah, let's wrap this up. I think we kind of full circled the devil into a
Yeah.
still, right?
Yeah.
Like whereas anyway, yeah, like
Yeah.
um,
I like simple but not easy. You know, it's like that's a good way to look at it. Indeed. It's not more complicated than that. It doesn't make it's very hard. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. It is insanely difficult, but you know, it's not like you should be puzzled about the answer. The answer is the answer. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you wanna do a takeaway? Um,
Yeah, so I think that was a really good one. I think I said my piece. I think the self attribution
mhm.
as a signal of pride, and a very easy way of seeing that pride is emerging. I take away from today, and yeah, that we just need to continue fixing our gaze, and we can do it through prayer, so that helps us focus and like recalibrate. Hey, this is the direction. Thy kingdom come. Your will be done. Right. So there.
Mhm.
Um, and I will just have to continue chewing on the letting go of my own expectations of things. You know,
Mhm.
like just so letting the will be done will have some consequences
Yep.
that that will be terrifying, and counterproductive, and it will seem to me counterproductive at the moment. Um,
No, they are
and
counterproductive
there
because
will be,
production isn't their aim.
yeah, exactly, yeah, production. That's great. I like that. That's very good. Production isn't there. Perfect. Exactly. Yeah, and there we just need a lot of faith.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just letting go and just let go and just let it happen. But I need to. I want to trigger you, so I'm gonna say I might need to self transcend a little bit further to get there. No, but
Okay,
I'm
I'll
kidding.
help
But
you self transcend. Oh, did you have self transcend?
yeah, but thanks. This was really good. And anything from your side to close off?
um. Well, like I find it amazing that I'm at this place where I'm having these experiences during the day, and I can tie them in, and I'm actually making meaningful statements with these things that I just experienced, and just like meaningful, right? Like truthful, or not no true. Like they're true, right? Like they're bringing you closer to the goodness, right? And or at least me. and and I think that's something to be grateful for, right? Like
Yeah,
when you
indeed.
have that happening in your life, right? Like when these things start lining up,
Yeah,
that says something, right? Like that's fruits.
yeah,
Like
indeed.
that's being blessed.
Yeah,
Because like there was no will of mine in that. That's just all given to me.
Yeah.
Like I went there, like I didn't pick the texts, like I just sat there and stuff came to me, and other things, people said things, and then more things came to me, and then I realized things that I couldn't have realized on my own, and then I talked about them with other people, and then I talked about them with you, and now it's on the internet, and like hopefully someone will write in the comment section so that they get refined again, and then we are building the kingdom.
Yep. Amen, man. That's great.
Amen.
That's good. I'm happy I could be part of the closing the circle. That's good.
Okay, well, thanks for watching, everybody.